if they had the credit cards first, or if unless it was the credit cards, like credit cards, they don't monitor your debt income ratio. They'll let you go nuts on those. But if you already had the credit cards, if your last loan you went for, I'm assuming the student loan was there before the car or the house, but if your last loan you went for was either the car or the house, they probably wouldn't give it to you because it would put you over your debt income ratio. So they probably would have denied it. They'd probably told you, no, you can only afford this much a month, so go find something cheaper. I'm going to let that slide, Drew. So you guys had a packet last time for homework. You had a packet and you had some out of the book too, didn't you? Yeah, do you have any questions out of the book first that you want me to go over?
Yeah.
Which page?
Gear problem.
I had a question on 13.
What page is that on?
Yeah.
163.
163? Number, you said 14 or 15?
Oh, that's Mike's question.
Mine was on 31, gear problem.
Okay, yours was
On
Mine was on
161.
the other page.
on the other page, okay. So number 31, let's take a look, the gear problem, okay? Revolutions per minute, okay, this is an inverse proportion problem. If the number of teeth goes up, the revolutions per minute has to go down. So if we're looking here, if gear A is turning at 120 revolutions per minute, this is where we do the product rather than the ratio. So gear A has 80 teeth and it's turning at 120 revolutions per minute. Gear B has 30 teeth. So how fast will it be turning? This is still going to be a multiply and divide problem. So we're going to do the 80 times 120, which is 9,600, right? Then you're going to divide by the 30, which will give you 320. So the RPM of gear B is 120. Now here's where most people mess it up. If gear B is at 120, what's C?
Same thing.
It has to be also at 120 because they're attached to each other. They're not meshing. This rule here only applies if their teeth are meshing. Gear B and gear C are on the same shaft. They have to be turning the same RPM. So gear C is turning 320 RPM as well. So C is at 50 teeth times 320 RPM. Gear D is 20 teeth. So we will multiply and divide again. 50 times 320 is 16,000. Divided by 20 is 800 RPM for gear D. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got that one. It just got worse.
Okay, which one do you want me to do? So I jump down to D?
How about C?
C, okay.
With the 2 question marks on C.
For C, we need to find a gear where we know both the teeth and the RPM. And that would be gear D. So we have to start at the end and work our way back on this one. So gear D has 36 teeth, turning at 280 RPM. Of course, it's going to mesh with gear C. We don't know its RPM, but we know gear C has 60 teeth. Looking for its RPM. So you're going to multiply 36 times 280 divided by 60 is what? What is it? 168? 168. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. 168 RPM for gear C. That, of course, means gear B is turning at 168 RPM. So gear B is 168 RPM, and it has 24 teeth. So 24 teeth times 168 equals, we don't know the teeth for gear A, but we do know it's at 144 RPM. So we multiply 24 times 168 and divide by the 144, which is going to give us, what, 28? So So gear A has 28 teeth. So the key there is figuring out where to start. You have to find the one piece that you have both pieces of information for. Okay, Nick, what was your question?
154,
Page 1.
13 to 15.
Ah, 2/3 to 1/2. Okay, this is why I like to use the fractional notation. It looks a little complex with this, something like this, but 2/3 to 1/2, right? What I would do on here, this is page 154, number 13. That's division. Remember, I read him as a fraction because we can treat him as a fraction. This is just 2/3 divided by 1/2. So 2/3 times 2/1. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 1 is 3. So a 4-to-3 ratio. Then 14 is going to work the same way. It's going to be 1/2 over 2/3. So you'll divide it. It should be a 3-to-4 ratio. It should be just the opposite. Any others? Okay, we also had the percent packet. So I'll set the book away and we'll look at the percent packet. I have the percent packet out here. Oops, I don't. Oh well. So in our percent packet, the first piece that you had to do was on page 111. Change fractions to decimals to percents. Number 1 was actually kind of tricky to start off with. 1 4/5 is what is a decimal? 1.8. What is it as a percent? 180. Okay, does anybody not remember how to do the percents? The conversions, you've got her? Okay. So number 2, it's 3/10 is the fraction, 0.3 the decimal, 30%. Number 3, 1 41/50 and 1.82. Okay. Let's just go ahead and skip. Number 7, 1/1000 would be 0.0025, right? No, sorry, 0.001, sorry, and then 0.1%. I was thinking 400. Okay. Any others on that section that you'd like me to go over? Perfect. On page 113, you're asked to find 22% of 58. What'd you get? Perfect. Remember, you're setting it up like this. 22% is 22 out of 100. Of 58, 58 is the whole amount. We're asked to find the smaller amount. So you do cross multiply and divide, and is it 12.76? Sounds good to me. 248 is what percent of 19? Here we're asking what percent, so we're missing the percent. It's blank over 100. 48 is what percent of 19? So it's 48 over 19. A lot of people get that backwards. And it's what, 250 some percent?
What did the amount? 252.6. Where did you get 48 in 19?
Right in the problem, 48 is what percent of 19? Number 2 on page 113. Okay. Okay. So, number 3 then, 45 is 14% of what number? So we have 14% is 14 out of 100. 45 is the 14%, so that goes here, and you'd cross multiply and divide. So you get what, 300 something? 321.42 works for me. Any questions? Yeah.
Identify which of the parts, fees, percent, or amounts. Will we actually have to solve them, or you just?
You don't actually have to solve them. This here is the amount. This is the percent. And this is the base. But if you look at the next page, you get the same set of problems, or actually solve them. Yeah. Any questions on those? Anybody want me to keep going through the answers? Okay. Good. I didn't want to anyway. Sorry. It's one of those days. Okay, you guys have reviewed the percents and stuff. So what I want to do is I want to move on now to applications of percents, the little bit trickier part of it. For example, let's take a look at a discount. As a contractor, if you guys do enough business with a particular lumberyard or supplier, they will give you a contractor discount. Some of them I've seen are as low as 1 or 2%. I've seen some of them as high as 12% if you do enough business through a particular distributor. So let's say that you get a 4% contractor discount. You order materials for a job that have a list price. And we're going to keep this fairly simple. Let's do a list price of $3,000. How much are you going to pay? Well, you get your 4% discount, so you're going to pay less than $3,000, right? So your 4% discount, how would we find your 4% discount? 4 over 100 equals blank over 3,000. Or you could just do 0.04 times 3,000 if you want to use the rate method, right? What's that come out to be? Cross multiply and divide, you get $120. So is that my answer? We have to take $3,000 and subtract 120 to get 2,880 is what we're going to pay. Now, if we look at what happened here, what's wrong, Drew? Okay, so 3,000 here was the list price. The 120 was a discount. We subtracted the discount, right? And we got the amount that we're going to actually pay. If we look at it this way, the list price is the full amount. That's 100%. The discount is that 4%. The amount we pay then, we're going to subtract that just like we did the dollars. 100 minus 4 is 96%. So rather than going through the trouble of finding that discount, the 4%, and subtracting it, what we could have done was simply found 96% of the 3,000 right away. Then we cross multiply and divide. It would have given us 2,880. Now in this case, it would take about the same amount of work either way. But there are cases where it doesn't work quite so well. For example, let's say that this, after a 9% discount, I don't know where that H came from. After 9% discount, Drew pays $637. Find the list price. Figure out in your notes quick. See if you can figure out what that list price would have been. What was it? Okay, very good. Anybody else come up with 700? What's that? Did you get 700? Well, do it. There's still time. Hey, Drew, you do realize the recording's still going, right? Okay, what I have up here right now, can anybody tell me why that won't work? This is the way most people would approach this, is they'd find 9% of the 637 and try to add it back on. Okay, what does the 9% represent? The discount, right? 100% represents the full amount, or the list price, correct? What does the 637 represent? That is the discounted price. That's the amount you actually pay after the discount. Not the list or the discount. The 637 doesn't go with either one of those. What does it go with? The amount you pay. Well, is there a percent that represents the amount we pay? Yeah, there is. If you have a 9% discount out of 100, 91% is what you pay. The 637 represents what you pay, and the 91 represents what you pay. So now if you cross multiply and divide, you're going to get 700 bucks. Does that make sense? Kind of? You're confused, right? Okay. Let's try a similar one. After a 15% discount, Sam pays $850. Find the list price. See if we make her work. Okay, so what percent are we going to be using? The 15% represents the discount, right? There's always 100% in here somewhere, but that represents the list price. That's what we're looking for. But the 850 is that discounted price, or the amount that we pay. What percent represents that? Yeah, any percent always has, we call that a complement. Any percent always has its complement. 100% is the full amount. 15% is one amount. Its complement is the rest. 100 minus 15, or 85. So 85% represents the 850. So 85 out of 100 is 85%. Where does the 850 go? On top, because it represents the same thing as the 85. Now, of course, the calculation is pretty simple. Cross, multiply, and divide, and Drew was correct. It's $1,000. I've been saying those words a lot the last couple weeks, the last semester. Now, what's that? Feels good. Yeah, it doesn't feel bad. So anyway, let's say after a 6% surcharge, Austin pays $689. Find the. Oh, this might be like a licensing fee or a contractor continuing ed classes and stuff like that. Find the original price before the surcharge. You're not supposed to? Is that better? So now in this case, are we using 94%? No, why not? Because this was added on to the full amount. That's 100% plus 6% more is 106%. So the 689 is after the increase, so it does go with the 106. We cross multiply and divide, what do we get here? 650. Good job. How many of you had 650? Good deal. A little bit. Last year, your contracting license cost you $180. This year, it cost you $207. Find the percent increase. To do this, we first have to find the amount of the increase. Of course, that's just going to be the 207 minus the 180, which is $27. Now, the question is, we know the 27 is the increase. Which number are we going to use for the base of this percent? The original, the starting amount, the 180. So we're looking for what percent is that increase? The $27 out of 180. So now we'll cross multiply and divide, which comes up to be 15 out of 100, or 15%. Let's say, you look confused, Mike. You good? Let's say Drew upsets his boss and his pay is cut from $16.20 per hour to $14.10 per hour. What percent decrease is this? Or a new personality. How much? Sorry, that was me. I'm sorry. First, we define the amount of the decrease. How do we do that? Subtract 1620 minus 1410, which gives us what? 210. What do we do with that? It's over the original amount, which is the 1620. So we'll cross multiply and divide there. 100 times 210 divided by 1620. 12.96%. I also did I did 21 and I did 162. I just left off the decimal points and the zeros. Just being lazy with my key punches. So 12.96%. So let's say gas in 2014. Let's say the last day of 2014 was $2.89. Last day of 2015 was $1.84. Find the percent decrease. Try that one in your notes, Craig. Yeah, that's about right. It was just under $3. It was about 3 years ago. It was up in the $4 range for a while.
Like the heart of the city of Minneapolis, it was about 40.
Yeah, because their taxes are lower there. It's down to like 180 right now, isn't it? 170 something.
St. Croix, it's 177.
Okay.
173.
Okay. I know as soon as you cross the border, it drops by about 20 cents.
Oh yeah, Minnesota is 177 there. Yeah, it was 174 actually. Oh, not. Oh, I was saying Minnesota is 174.
What'd you get?
36 points on my numbers.
36.3 or 36.33%. Pretty significant drop. Okay, it is about that time for me to give you your homework. So you're going to have a new packet. In the first packet, it's going to be pages 115 through 122. Then there's going to be a second packet I'm going to give you with discounts and spoilage and stuff like that in it. For those of you who are going to be gone next week, just so you know, tomorrow I am going to try to squeeze 3 lectures in so you guys have a little extra homework. I know you guys are not going to have a lot of time to do homework in Vegas, but while you're gone, there's only going to be 3 or 4 students in here, so we're not going to get a whole lot done. But so I am going to try to squeeze. There's going to be a little extra homework, and I did squeeze a little bit extra in here today, just so you know.
What page is that,
So
sorry?
I'll hand out the packets in just a little bit, so you'll be able to see them. They'll be in packets.
115